Back here in Ann Arbor for second half action coming up soon between your home team, the Concordia Cardinals. Eric Shaw, Matt Cordy with you, and, of course, the visitors from Indiana Wesleyan. Concordia started out hot with great special teams. They blocked a punt. They were able to go 2 plays, get it in the end zone for a score. They were able to play really, really good offense with that front offensive line getting the job done early. Get up 14-0 in the first quarter. It was completely all Cardinals. The second quarter, things kind of flipped around. Indiana Wesleyan was able to make 2 good drives, tie it up at 14, and that's where we sit right now. I'm sure there was some interesting conversations in the locker room. In the Concordia locker room, though, you got to talk about how you started so well, and then things didn't go well in that second quarter. Indiana Wesleyan, of course, in their first year as a real program, they're getting votes. They're trying to win a game here and have a chance at the postseason for the first time. But I think both of these locker rooms had some intensity at halftime.
Oh, absolutely. I think both sides have a lot of things that they can fix going into the second half. The Cardinals started off great, like you said, but they definitely have some room for improvement on both sides of the ball. They sort of stalled on both sides of the ball. And the Wildcats, really the opposite. They came out not looking too great, especially on special teams, but they were able to bounce back and tie this game up going into halftime.
Eric Shaw, Matt Cordy with you here for this final home game of the regular season for your Concordia Cardinals. Both of these teams trying to fight for second place in their half of the bracket of the conference. And so Van Gutten will kick it off. He's a good kicker. This time sort of a knuckleball wobbler down, and it will be Daly who picks it up. Now cuts to the outside. Cuts back in and is upended there short of the 20 at about the 17-yard line. One of the things to point out up front now is before this half gets going, will we see Omar Sinclair? He is usually the deep man on kickoffs. Was not in there. He was injured early in the second quarter, and he's out right now.
It looks like he walked out to the huddle there but walked right back, so they probably have it limited for the rest of the game, but I truly think that Concordia has enough other playmakers, including Bobby DeSantis, Parker Graham, who are both in the backfield right now that can make a difference for Concordia.
And Parker Graham did start at quarterback at the beginning of the game today. He's going to keep the ball himself and drop his head and push it to the outside. He gets about 4 yards or 5 yards on the carry, so a nice first down carry to start the second half for the Cardinals. Gets about half of a first down. Just underway here in the second quarter. Graham stays in there at quarterback with DeSantis next to him. Fakes the handoff, keeps it himself. He's got some running room, tripped up and across the 40, out near the 43-yard line. And all that was he read, pulled it down, kept it himself, cut against the grain, and got big yards and a first down for the Cardinals.
And as I said earlier, this is going to be the way Concordia is going to be able to combat not having their top 2 running backs, Omar Sinclair and Correll Jackson, not here for this game. Not be able to participate for the rest of this game. He's going to be able to provide that dual threat option right here.
This time DeSantis gets the football, will cut, go off left side. He's got room down the far sideline and trying to get the ankle. They will at about the 25, 26-yard line. Out of bounds and into Indiana Wesleyan territory. Big run for DeSantis.
You have to love what you're seeing from the Cardinals here. They're coming out and they decide we're going to run the ball until they let us know and until they tell us that we can't run the ball anymore. And right now they're getting quite a significant amount of yards on every play here. So let's hope the Cardinals can continue that. And it looks like Omar Sinclair is in the backfield right now.
Yeah, in there for the first time here in the second half. In there for the first time in a couple of series. He will not get the option. Graham will keep it himself, and enough yards for big-time yards. Up the middle, enough for a first down into the red zone, down to the 13-yard line.
And just the threat of having Sinclair in the backfield made them honor him as an option there. So it allowed Parker Graham to get more yards than if he was just in the backfield by himself.
So as we talked about the conversation at halftime, these Cardinals, at least on offense, are coming out inspired to play football here in the second half. And Graham will keep it himself inside the 10 and probably down to the 7. And forward progress is stopped. He and Sinclair knocked into each other after the snap. So the play in the offensive backfield wasn't entirely clean. Graham keeps it himself and gets a number of yards, about 6, toward another first down for the Cardinals.
Parker Graham already has 44 yards rushing on the day.
And many of them on this series. 6'1", 197. Sinclair has it, going to get the edge, and he's going to walk in for the touchdown. 20-14, the Cardinals lead it. Sinclair able to get the football and go in untouched. For a guy that was banged up earlier in this game, going in untouched sounds pretty good.
And that's something that makes the Cardinals so dangerous. They're able to make that long drive without even having to throw the ball once.
Okay.
So having that many different options that can run the ball as well. DeSantis had a big play. Graham had a big play. And then Sinclair brings it into the house.
20-14. Mast on for the extra point. Kicks it up. It's good. It did not look like it from here, but nonetheless, 21-14. The Cardinals lead it here with 12-11 left to go in the third quarter. Their opening drive marched it right down. They went in with Parker Graham to start that drive at quarterback. He takes it all the way down, was a big contributor, and they score 7 to open up the second half.
And as much of an impact as Peter Morrison has when he's at quarterback, with his great throwing ability, it does add a whole nother element when you have Parker Graham back there. And if that's what they're looking to do, if that's how they think they can defeat Indiana Wesleyan, I think they should keep going with that because it seems to be working on that last drive.
Yeah, that was a very different look when you bring Graham out. And Graham, we knew he was a good running quarterback. He did it a lot in high school, had tremendous success at the high school level. And then he comes here. And this year he has been able to throw the ball some. He's been able to do some other things when he's been in there.
But he's also been a wide receiver, as we saw on the first drive or the second drive where he scored.
And at 6'1", 197, a big target when he is at receiver. There's a return man up for Indiana Wesleyan across the 30 to the 31.
Looks like a little extracurricular activity on multiple occasions here. I think it's really just blocks being finished until the final whistle there.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, these two teams are hungry for a win. They want to prove themselves. The Cardinals want to show they're worthy of that, getting back into that top 10. Indiana Wesleyan wants to show, hey, we're worthy of being more than just receiving votes, and this is our year to prove it. And so it's a really good game to close out the season for Concordia in the regular season. Alford will have it, takes it to the outside, cuts up and gets some, and more yards than I thought originally he was going to get, as he took it to the outside, and the Cardinals were mirroring that play to the sideline.
We'll have to see how Indiana Wesleyan comes out here in the second half and what their plan of attack is. They were able to find a lot of success in the air, but if they can get plays like that on the ground as well, they might keep that in the playbook as well.
2nd down and 6, empty backfield. Blair by himself. Now Alford will go in motion and go back there off to the right and behind his quarterback. Gets the handoff again, and he's upended short of the first down. Had the shoulders down, going for everything he had, and he stopped short by the Cardinal defense.
It was a good tackle there by Hunter Maynard. But once again, if you're getting that many yards off the play, I don't see why Indiana Wesleyan would stop running the ball. And you have to believe that with 3rd and 1 here, they might try to do that again with Alford.
Cardinals have 4 down linemen defensively. Walking up a couple of guys on the edge. They're trying to go with the quarterback up the middle, and he's going to get stopped short.
I think the problem with Indiana Wesleyan doing that is when you bring him under center, which they don't do as often, you are more expecting of the quarterback sneak. So Concordia can know they can get the low ground. They'll be able to take out the offensive line and stop them, which they've been able to do earlier in the game. But if you leave him in the back, then you have different options that Concordia has to defend. And it looks like he definitely is short here, so it's going to be 4th and 1 for the Wildcats.
Yeah, the ball is on the right side of the 40.
Wildcats going to be number 2. Vanderpon Goodman.
So it's going to be Indiana Wesleyan punting it away, and as you can maybe hear, the Indiana Wesleyan coaching staff up on the far right side of our booth, not happy with the outcome there. Beer will get it at the 25, stutter steps, cuts back to the far side, tries some running room. But Indiana Wesleyan, the more he dodged, the more they came, and they make the tackle at the 31-yard line, and that's where Concordia will get the football back.
And there's a flag on the field. We'll have to see what it's on. Looks like it might be holding on the Cardinals.
The officials talking it over here with under 10 to go in the third quarter. So it will be a holding call on the Cardinals. So that will back them up 10 yards and not be helpful to the Cardinal effort on offense here as they move them down to their own 22-yard line. And that's where the Cardinals will have the football with 9:57 to go in the third. They opened up the half with a touchdown. They lead this one 21-14 here this afternoon. The wind picking up a little bit left to right here. So in favor of the Cardinals right now if they have to get into the kicking situation.
And it looks like they bring out Parker Graham again, so probably more a little heavy run-centric here.
Sinclair has the football, gets maybe a yard on that play. Just stayed right on that far hash mark and tried to get upfield. Not a whole lot of room there to run.
And that's the negative, that they know that it's a lot less likely. Parker Graham has 6 passing attempts on the year, and so you know that when he's in, it's more than likely going to be some sort of running play. So you're able to gear your defense more towards that. But as of right now, Indiana Wesleyan, except for that last play this half, has not been able to stop it.
Graham looks at that defense, has Sinclair in the backfield with him. Daly goes with him too. Graham keeps it. He's going to have first down yardage out across the 35.
And that's that triple option play that I was referencing earlier that they started to bring back a little bit more recently in these past few games. It's something that was really prevalent probably 3 or 4 years ago for Concordia.
Yeah.
With those 3 options, any of those 3 can break it out for a 60-yard touchdown here. So
yeah,
it's hard to defend.
On my first year calling games a couple of years ago, you could see that play 2 out of every 5 times the Cardinals snapped the football. And it was effective. But right now you're going to see Morrison back in there at quarterback for the Cardinals. So they're going to move back to Morrison behind center. And they hand it to Sinclair, and he's knocked down behind the line of scrimmage for a loss on that run.
That was Josh Davidson, the linebacker, coming in. It looked like sort of a run blitz on that, and he really didn't give Sinclair any sort of chance to make any move on it. Good defense by Indiana Wesleyan, and this time they are able to stop the run.
Second down and 11, 8:15 to go in the third. Morrison looks back to the sideline to get a call. Colston and Daly to the near side. Colston far out, Daly inside. Wilson, the tight end, on the right side as well. Drops the throw, has Colston in and out of the hands. And incomplete, and he threw down Colston after the play. No penalty flags, but definitely could have been one.
And that's an unfortunate drop there by Colston. You don't see that a lot out of him, but he definitely knew that he had about 3 defenders on any side of him.
And it was a nice route. He was just past the sticks. He knew where he needed to be.
And a good throw, too, from Morrison. But now they'll have to get past that with this 3rd and 11 play.
3rd down and 11. Doesn't leave you many options other than go to the air here. Daly goes far side. Incomplete underneath. Daly went to the outside. The defensive back caught underneath and almost got a hand on it to knock it down, but a very, very bad series of events on that play and the play before, unable to get much going.
Yeah, all credit due to the Wildcat defense there. They were able to stop the run, and they were also able to get pressured on that play and force a bad throw from Morrison.
Number 1, Justin Johnson.
Cardinals sent to punt it away. Webb back there. The freshman sends the football away, a low kick, but it's taken a good bounce for the Cardinals inside the 25-yard line down to the 23, and Indiana Wesleyan will go back to work on offense against this Cardinal defense that came out hot again on that last series of downs to stop Indiana Wesleyan on their first series of the second half. Cardinal defensive line on that short yardage situation they needed for a first down in the last series. Cardinal defensive line was able to get low and drive in and stop Blair from leaning forward to get it. This time they're going to hand it to Alford off the far side. Not a whole lot doing there as the Cardinal defense comes up off the edge and makes the hit for a gain of about 1, maybe 2.
By starting Alford in the slot there and motioning him into the backfield, you're able to get a sneak peek of what the coverage the Cardinals are going to bring. So they're able to see that and see that, oh, the linebacker's covering him and he's going to be on the near side of the field as we're looking at it. So it's a lot harder to tackle for Amon Payne to get across the field and stop him going to the far side.
Blair has the football, throws to the far side, has a receiver. In and out of the hands of the receiver out near the 45.
Yeah, it looked like Fawcett had that ball. Prince Alex Ayola was able to get a hand in there, but also looked like it might have went off the knee of Fawcett as he was trying to bring that in. But once again, the offensive line of the Wildcats giving enough time for Blair to get a throw off when it's that deep. It's definitely going to take a lot longer than normal.
Blair had a great throw. It was a good throw to the receiver. And going to get called for offsides on the defense. He jumped and then tried to get back. The center wisely snapped the ball, and it will be an offside on the Cardinals.
Yeah, and you hate to give away free yards like this to a team. And unfortunately, they were able to catch in-house offsides.
So 3rd down and 9 is going to turn into 3rd down and about 4, which changes the plays that you have realistically, it changes the plays you have available to you in the playbook in a 3rd down and 4 versus a 3rd down and 9.
I almost think this might help the Cardinal defense a little bit because they've been able to stop the run a little bit more than the pass. So we'll see how that works.
3rd down and 3. Blair, Alford flares out. Now Blair's going to have to flush out and run. Throws to the near side, has a receiver. 1st down yardage across the 35, out to the 39-yard line.
That was a good job by Blair to be patient. He had several different options that he was looking through, and that guy coming across the whole way across the field, only about 5 yards deep, but that's about all they needed, and those 5 yards gave them the 1st down.
Able to reach back, make that catch before he goes out of bounds. 1st down and 10 for Indiana Wesleyan. Blair pulls it out, rolls, throws it across the field. And all again, it's just the quarterback rolls to his throwing arm, has a receiver drag across the field out in front of him underneath and makes that pass.
Yeah, and once again, when Blair has enough time, he's going to find an open receiver, and he's very accurate with his passes. He's almost 60% accuracy rating throughout the year, so he's been able to take advantage of the Cardinal defense, who's not been able to get pressure as much lately after those first 2 drives.
Rolling up on 6 minutes here in the 3rd quarter. Alford will come across, get it, and then take it back where he came from, picks up 2. Crossed into Cardinal territory to the 49.
Just a simple counterplay there, and it looked like Hunter Maynard almost had the tackle in the backfield as he was sort of diving, wasn't able to grab the legs of Alford, who went on for another 2 yards.
Bright sunshine out there right now. Cloudy and overcast, but the sun has been out there most of the afternoon, at least on the field. Blair all by himself with 3 receivers to the near side, 2 to the far side. Blair looks to his first target and throws it to the far side. Catch is made at the 46-yard line.
On a play like that, Braden Smith, he's a big, tall wide receiver, and he's able to almost sort of box out the cornerback there. So good throw, good decision. Take what you can get from the Cardinal defense.
Blair will pull up, take a look back at the sideline. He'll pull Alford off to his left and behind him a step. Blair looks to throw far side, has it, and first down yardage across the 40-yard line. Smith, 6'4", 203, that receiver you mentioned a couple of plays ago. That's a big target to be able to get a guy behind you. But right now, you are seeing a efficient quarterback that can sling the ball around to a lot of receivers. Blair is playing a terrific series of downs in the second half that matters a lot to this Indiana Wesleyan team. Alford has room to the far sideline and pulled down across the 25 near the 20-yard line. Just outside the red zone. Looks like they're going to mark him right at the 20-yard line. And so a first down for Indiana Wesleyan, and they're punching back here, down 21-14 after the Cardinals scored to get that 7-point lead back on the first drive after the halftime break.
Alford was able to break a couple tackles there, and he really took advantage of the Cardinals just trying to dive for those tackles, which isn't as efficient.
Blair brings Smith in motion. He bobbles it on the handoff, but keeps it, and that's a big kid running the ball. And he didn't look terribly comfortable coming across on the jet sweep and gets maybe a half a yard on that carry.
Yeah, Smith only has 1 carry on the year, which went for 9 yards, so it's not something that is quite in his wheelhouse, but I definitely think he has the speed and ability to do it, but not something that he's as used to doing it.
Obviously big enough to take the hit if he needs to. Just kind of got tall on that run and never got down and really was able to knock anybody back. Blair fakes the handoff. Blair's going to roll now with pressure coming. Fires it out of bounds, incomplete.
Good pressure there by the Cardinals. Hunter Maynard came up the middle, and Alex Hinojosa on the outside was there as well towards the end of that throw. And now it's going to be 3rd and long with about 10 yards to go for the Wildcats.
Now keep in mind, both of these teams have kickers that can bang it in from outside. We saw earlier during the halftime break, Van Gunton for Indiana Wesleyan was kicking 48, 49-yard field goals with plenty of distance.
And both the kickers this year have a long of a 47-yarder, so they both can put it in from quite a ways out.
Obviously, kicking it off a tee with no defense is different. Look at that catch across the middle of the field near a first down. We'll see if they got it. But what a catch to fall, spin back, and grab it with one hand and secure it before you go down.
That was a heck of a catch by Fawcett there if he did indeed catch it. And it looks like they're going to call it that way. So great job. It wasn't the most accurate throw that we've seen from Blair today, but did the job, and now it's going to be 4th and short.
And Blair, it doesn't give you a lot of time to think about it. That ball gets on top of you in a hurry as a receiver, especially right underneath. But it's 4th down and less than 1, and I bet Blair gets the football, hands it off to Alford. Alford will get the first down, plows inside, down near the 5-yard line. They're going to actually mark him back at the 7.
And it looks like the ball came loose there, and their tight end, number 49, Charlie Hill, fell on the ball. So good heads-up play by Charlie Hill, but also good play by the Cardinals to strip that ball.
That'll be first and goal ball.
And as you were saying earlier, Zach Blair has been extremely efficient today. He's been 18 for 24 with 152 yards. So he's really been putting on a show of accuracy, and that's something that he's been able to pick apart the Cardinals' defense, especially when he has enough time.
Especially here in the second half, he has been nearly perfect. Blair hands it off to Deglow, who will just kind of muddle up the middle and try to get what he can get. Never does get tackled, but stop forward progress short of the 5-yard line, down to maybe the 7. Under a minute and a half left in the third. The Cardinals are holding on for dear life to this 7-point lead. 21-14 they lead it. But Indiana Wesleyan with the football, and they're knocking on the door at in the red zone at the 7-yard line. Blair rolls, has 2 guys coming, throws one up, and out of the back of the end zone. The pass is caught, but well outside the end zone, incomplete.
It's actually not the worst of throws from Blair.
No.
He knows that with Braden Smith out there, he's about a head taller than most of the defensive backs outside of Ryan Fish out there.
Yeah.
So not a bad decision. Just make sure that you put it somewhere where only he can catch it. And he ended up catching it, but it was out of bounds.
All right, fans, let's get behind
So
the
Blair
defense.
will look at the defense again, and it looks like Coach Schumacher sprints down the sideline and calls a timeout at the last second. He'll get it. We'll take the timeout with him, and we'll be right back to see what happens on this Indiana Wesleyan push for a score.
All right, fans, I'm going to call these tickets for our contestants for the next contest. They are 1983529 and 1983550. Again, 1983529 and 1983550. If you have those tickets, please report to the north end zone.
Back here out of the Concordia Cardinal timeout, Coach Schumacher saw something there defensively that he wanted to talk about. They had that conversation. Now it's 3rd down and 8. The Cardinals need to make a stop here. Blair has played a great game. Now they're going to send the defense, and the catch incomplete, out of bounds. Great effort by the receiver to try to keep the toes in and make that grab.
And that was Fossa who made that great catch to the one that looked like he may or may not have caught it, but that was a great job. He's done a great job of being able to catch those passes, but unfortunately it looks like he was out of bounds for the Wildcats.
So Von Gunton is in for Indiana Wesleyan. He's going to be kicking it about 25 yards for 3 here if he can get it through the uprights. It's down, the kick is up, and it's good. So they will put 3 more on the board. 21-17 with 47 seconds to go in the 3rd quarter. And you mentioned while we were away there talking about how quickly Indiana Wesleyan's offense was getting rid of the football, especially in the passing game, finding the receivers. It wasn't giving our defensive line the time that they had earlier in the game, and that's a big difference. When the Cardinals early, they were getting in there creating pressure, and now not just when they do create pressure and they still are able to get in there, Blair is making great moves with his feet and getting rid of it in a wise way.
Yeah, and they've also done a great job of getting Blair outside of the pocket. They've been doing bootlegs and wheeling him out different ways and getting him in space, where he's also a threat to run the ball. So really trying to keep the Cardinal defense honest here.
At least in the home games that I've been here for this year, in my opinion, he's the most complete all-around quarterback we've seen. Can run the ball, can throw the ball, sees the field well. And there is the kick. Daly will have it. He's got a seam, beats one defender and tripped up by the shoelaces, out to his own 40. Big return, but not nearly as big as he was hoping for.
Yeah, if he could just get past that one last shoelace tackle, like you were saying, he is gone. And that would have been a big senior day send out for Roger Daly right there. One score update, just looking around the league. The one game that we were especially talking about, Marion versus Siena Heights, that has come to a close. It looks like Marion won 21-7. So that will give Marion the outright league title for the MSFA Mid-East, and it'll also drop Siena Heights to 7-3 on the season. It'll probably push them out of playoff contention. So that does help both of these teams we see in front of us.
Morrison in there, fakes it to Daly, throws it to Sinclair, underneath, spins, and Omar looks to get it out near the 49-yard line. A couple of the coaches on the Concordia sideline, the only ones with fancier footwork than Sinclair had there, as they were excited to see that play. Sinclair gets up and gingerly, we'll say, comes back to the Cardinal sideline.
Yeah, hard to see what happened there. There was a couple people hovering over him there, so hopefully he's all right. The trainers will get him checked out.
And we don't know what he was banged up with early in the game there in the second quarter. So, as you said, he might be limited here in the second half anyway. DeSantis in the game with Morrison. And that's the end of the third quarter. The Cardinals lead at 21-17, and they have the football. We'll be back with the last quarter of action coming up. Back here for fourth quarter action in Ann Arbor as the Cardinals come out of the break and the huddle with the coaching staff. They've got their clear direction as they go back to work on offense with a 2nd down and 2, up 21-17, barely in their own territory here as we start the fourth quarter. Morrison is in there. Hands it off to DeSantis. DeSantis will knife off to the right and get enough for the first down into Indiana Wesleyan territory. Coach Schumacher excited on the sideline for the Cardinal first down.
Yeah, and with each first down, that's another minute or two that's going to be taken off the clock. So that's really important, but it's also just as important to get the ball down the field and put more points up on the board and secure this win.
Yeah, this would be a good one because so far in this second half, you've traded your touchdown for their 3-point field goal. So you want to be able to keep that up. Daly's going to have the football, and he's going to run it to the near side out across the 40 and picks up about 8 yards on that pass. But at any point when you are in a game that's that tight, you score a touchdown, and then you give up 3, you have to be able to go put more points on the board and make it more than a one-score game to honor what that defense was able to do. Morrison hands it off to DeSantis again this time. They try to pull it away, not able to do it. He's going to be near the first down, but short, at least by the spot that we see right here.
That was a good job, DeSantis, to hold on to that ball because he was stood up there and had about 5 Wildcats trying to strip that ball away from him. They were unable to do so.
DeSantis strikes me as a guy that you would not want to tussle with one-on-one. A strong kid who was able to pull that ball back to himself, keep control of it, and make it third down and awfully short here for the Cardinals. Morrison looks at the defense. He's got Sinclair in the backfield with him. Hands it off to Sinclair, and Sinclair will just cut off to the right side, off tackle, gets the edge, and plenty of yards for a Cardinal first down.
That was great blocking there. Good job by Stephen Below, the right guard, to kick his tackle in, and then James Williams, the right tackle. He was way upfield, doing a good job getting to that second level and clearing away for Sinclair.
DeSantis back in the game for the Cardinals. Sinclair sort of getting some spot plays in there and making the most of them for the Cardinals here in the fourth quarter. DeSantis gets it and goes right straight forward. And look at the push from DeSantis up the middle, down near the 25-yard line. That's a big push for a running back who met the defense and adversity. As soon as he touched the football, he got quite a few yards.
DeSantis truly is deceiving. I mean, looking at him, you would not think 5'9", 189, he would be a power running back, but he truly is. And he's really a nice compliment to Omar Sinclair.
Yeah, because when you look at what they did with Sinclair, Sinclair is 5'8", 180, and they look completely different size and style out there. DeSantis gets it again, and this time will carry it down near the 20 and sort of back into a Cardinal first down.
That was beautifully executed by the offensive line there. He had a great hole to go through. Looked like there might have been a couple free linemen coming up at them, but that was actually part of the play design and worked very well. Good counterplay run.
And the nice thing is once he makes contact, or the defense makes contact, he turns and backs it in for a couple more yards. So he knows where the end zone is, and he continues to fight to get as much as he can on that play. Under 11 and a half minutes to go, the Cardinals trying to make it more than a one-score game. As Morrison looks at the defense, calls the ball, rolls against his throwing arm, now flips it out to Sinclair on the far side. Sinclair cuts back and will be stopped out of bounds short of the end zone. But that play looked like they fake it to Sinclair, and then they come this way, but all it was just get it back to him once you've given him open space.
And anytime you can get the ball to Sinclair in open space, which is what they did right there, it is very advantageous for the Cardinals. And they did a great job. The lineman sort of flipped around and then blocked their lineman who had already went past them, and he had a lot of room to work with and was able to bring it in within the 5-yard line.
And you got to remember, if you look at this team a year ago, Sinclair was a deep man on the kickoff, and one of his first plays, if not his first play, was a 96-yard touchdown return on a kickoff. So we knew the kid could run, and then he gets in the offensive backfield and starts to help create. Daly will cut the corner. Does he get the end zone? No. The far side official on that handoff to the outside will say he's down near the 1, but he was sort of trying to still go forward as his feet went out for under him and was not able to punch it in the end zone there.
It's always a risky play call trying to take it out east to west on a team like this, like Indiana Wesleyan. But I think that was definitely a good call there by Andrew Rohde, the offensive coordinator for the Cardinals, because they're definitely expecting Sinclair to go downhill on that.
Absolutely.
Keep them honest and keep them defending all sorts of different plays that the Cardinals are able to bring.
Graham's going to go under center here. Or Morrison, I mean, rather. Hands it off to Sinclair, who just pummels forward for the score. Sinclair maybe not 100%, but that's still worth 6. And the Cardinals go up 27-17, and that's that trade for the field goal versus the touchdown. And the Cardinals will take advantage of that all day if given it. And so Mast will be in there to kick the extra point to try to make it 28-17.
That jet sweep on the play prior actually played a big role on that last play that we just saw, because they saw Daly coming in motion. That sort of paused the linebackers thinking they have to go horizontal rather than vertical where Sinclair was coming.
Extra point is up. And it's good. And you mentioned that. We talked earlier today about how when Graham is in there, like at the beginning of the second half, he adds a different dimension. What's yet another dimension when you take a guy like Morrison, who's always in the gun, and he goes up under center. You run the sweep, you spread the defense out, you give him another thing to look at. Obviously, guys like Blair will go under center and just lean forward and try to get it. What does what do the Cardinals have up their sleeve when they run that play, able to get it in, and Sinclair still making a difference, even though he was banged up earlier and I would say short of completely ready to go right now.
And even with Morrison, I wouldn't consider him a dual threat quarterback, but he still can beat you with his legs. And one way he does that is getting out of the pocket. And they also run that design play where they fake the handoff and he rolls out to the other way, has plenty of time to find an open receiver. So he's still a threat with his legs.
Mass kicks it off. It's a short kick down to the 15 and tries to go all the way to the far side and is upended at the 21-yard line, 22-yard line.
That was Bobby DeSantis there on the tackle.
And you mentioned that about Morrison. One of the best ways that, like you said, he uses his legs is when he's flushed out of the pocket, his legs keep him alive long enough to make the pass. So where it's not rushing yards, it helps just as much because he's able to keep himself on his feet and find an open receiver.
Right, and when he does find that open receiver, he does a good job of setting his feet and throwing from a good base, which is very important when running on when throwing on the run.
Yeah, not just slinging it out there off from an off-balance position. He finds a way to set those feet and make that pass. That's right, and he's been able to do a lot of it here today. Blair looks to throw, has a receiver near side. And incomplete to the big receiver. He is a big kid at receiver. To the near side, they tried to come in front of the Cardinal bench.
Yeah,
the defensive back is way outsized there.
Right. You can see why Blair would want to go to Smith on that play, but that was a great job by DeLue, the senior cornerback, who's always done a good job. He doesn't get a lot of interceptions, but he always does a good job breaking up passes, and you can see why right there. Facing one of the best wide receivers in this league and able to break that pass up.
They bring Alford and swing him out to the near side. Blair's got some room. Going to run it himself and will get upended short of the 30 at the 29-yard line.
And that was one of those plays where the defensive line might have went too far upfield. You want to get pressure, but you also don't want to go too far past the quarterback, which is what happened there. He stepped up, saw one man in front of him. He's able to make Maynard miss and take it down for 3rd and 2 here.
Yeah, that's so much when you say up the field. If you go too far upfield, you create seams, and that's what happened there. And Blair was smart enough with very active legs to see that and make something out of it when there wasn't a whole lot there. Blair slings it, ball knocked down at the line of scrimmage. Blair on his backside, and now they're going to call a late hit on the quarterback. I can almost guarantee it.
Oh, that's a difficult play there. Hunter Maynard did a good job to get his hands up while he was blitzing, and it's hard for him to be able to stop with his momentum and not run into the quarterback. I'm just afraid that he put a little bit too much of a shove into it, and that's what the refs saw. That's really unfortunate for the Cardinals here because you go from forcing them to punt to giving them a free 15 yards.
That's one of those ones where after the season's over, you want to set the official down and just ask them straightforward. It's okay just between you and I. What calls did you not get right, or what ones shouldn't you have called? To me, that's one of those ones that's sort of questionable, but nonetheless, Indiana Wesleyan benefits from that late hit on the quarterback, roughing the passer. And so it will be Blair who sets his feet, swings it out to Alford, has some room out in front of him. The Cardinals try to close, and they make the hit across the 50 into their own territory at the 47-yard line.
Both sides need to be careful here. There's some, like I said, a little extracurricular activities that were happening earlier in the game. Seems to be a little bit more of that. Looked like Braden Smith threw down Ryan Fish. It looked like it was fair play on the block, but you just got to be careful you don't do it after the play happens. Unless there might be an injury as well.
Yeah, Alford gets up, and he's holding his leg. It looks like maybe his left leg, and then also the shoulder pads all twisted up.
He took a big hit there when he was going out of bounds. Took a big hit from the guy, bring him down, and then Reggie Thompson came to make sure that he went out of bounds.
So it looks like maybe we'll see a little more of Jesse Deglow, the freshman running back who had a couple of decent carries in the first half. We're under 9 minutes to go in the ball game. 28-17. Concordia started this game with a block punt, and then they went on fire for 14 points in the first quarter, completely stopped Indiana Wesleyan. Then in the second quarter, Indiana Wesleyan came alive. They sustained 2 drives, got it in the end zone, tied it at the break at 14. Then in the third quarter, the Cardinals got the football. They marched it down for 7, up 21-14. Indiana Wesleyan, a couple of drives later, was able to put 3 on the board, and the Cardinals answered with another touchdown. That leaves us at 28-17. Blair throws to the near side to his big receiver, and enough for a first down to the 43-yard line, and it will be Indiana Wesleyan first down and 10 with 8:35 to go in the ball game.
It looks like Alford's coming back out on the field, but it's definitely a different element when Deglow's out there. Deglow, they don't use in the passing game as near as much as they use Alford. Deglow only has 2 catches on the year compared to Alford, who has, I think, 7 catches today. So definitely a different element when he's on the field, but Alford is back out for this play.
Bring a man in motion to the near side. Blair getting pressured, throws the ball. Almost picked off by the safety for the Cardinals. Coming up last second, got up in the air, and then physically just not able to hold on tight and pull it in.
There were a lot of great things on that play. The first one was up front. Cooper O'Gara, the senior, did a great job getting through the offensive line and putting pressure on Blair. Blair still got a good throw off, and he was able to get it to his receiver, but Ryan Fish came out of the safety position and nearly picked that off.
And there's a guy that has caught a few balls in the defensive secondary as a Cardinal here in Ann Arbor. Blair, now they're bringing him again, throws it incomplete, and they're going to call the Cardinals for pass interference. Coach Schumacher not happy, but I can assure you that is pass interference on the defense. That's what that official is calling. I can see it already.
That is a tough one, especially happening right in front of the Concordia bench. Of course, they're not going to agree with it. It's a little difficult with the size differential, though.
And the official, the field judge, just taps himself on the chest and says, "That's what I saw, Coach." He and Schumacher, quite frankly, don't agree. I mean, but you're not going to change it now. And so you're going to get a big help here from that 15-yard penalty to move it in even deeper into Cardinal territory, down to the 29-yard line.
And really, the Concordia defense has done a good job stopping the Wildcats, but it's been those 2 penalties, that late hit and then that pass interference that really have moved the ball for the Wildcats here.
First and 10 from the 29-yard line. Blair's going to have to run it himself. The ball's loose and the Cardinals have it. The ball's loose and the Cardinals have it.
Great job by the Cardinals there. It looked like that was a swing pass that was supposed to be thrown out. It was covered by Amon Payne. I think Corbin Stefanski comes in there, and he's able to break that ball loose from Zach Blair. So great job all around by the Cardinals, and taking away different options, making Blair sort of scramble and punch the ball away.
Blair looked like when he saw that swing pass taken away, he panicked a bit. And then he's like, okay, I can run it. He finds the seam and runs, and then it's just ripped from his hand, and the Cardinals pick it up. Great play defensively, but it all started with covering the guys who could catch it, so there was no place to go.
And that's been something that the Cardinals have struggled with all game. That's why Alford has been able to make such an impact on this game. He's been open in those flats. So finally, when the Cardinals are able to cover that, Blair scramble, Stefanski punches it out.
Daly in motion. They throw it to him to the near side. He's got a blocker and one guy to beat. Nice open field tackle there at about the 32-yard line for the Wildcats.
That was number 19, Donnie Shelton, for the Wildcats. And he was the one that almost had the interception on that errant throw by Peter Morrison earlier in the first half. Got to believe the Cardinals are going to milk as much of the clock off as they can. And look right here, they're bringing out the Wildcat again. Peter Morrison out as wide receiver. Parker Graham back in the backfield with Bobby DeSantis.
Graham is such a deadly runner himself, although that time taken down almost immediately once he pulls that away from the running back. So it'll be third down and maybe about 4 yards here for the Cardinals to try to get a first down.
And as much as it might telegraph that the Cardinals are going to run, I think in a situation like this, you know that the Cardinals are probably gearing up to run anyway. So there's no negative to having Graham in the backfield. It might be more of a positive because he is more of a running threat.
Morrison back in there, DeSantis next to him. Morrison looks to throw. He has Colston underneath over the middle and able to get a first down for the Cardinals.
Great job.
Out to the 45.
Great job by Morrison on that play. His first option was Luke Wilson. That was well covered by the Wildcats. Then he goes to his second option, and sure enough, Clay Colston wide open, and he's able to get to him and turn upfield.
Graham back in there at quarterback for the Cardinals. DeSantis will be in the backfield with him. Colston to the near side. Roderick Daly wide out to the far side. And DeSantis will get the football and take it forward for about a yard right in front of us. You can see that offensive and defensive line banging hard to try to, of course, for the Cardinals to try to get that next first down and to run that clock and to get the win here today. And Indiana Wesleyan's defensive line overall today, the Cardinal offensive line has been plenty and then some for them to handle.
Wildcats do have 3 timeouts remaining, so if Concordia is able to get a first down here, you think they might start spending those to get the ball back with some time left on the clock. Might be an illegal formation or illegal movement on the Cardinals here.
Yeah, they had a couple of guys moving around. It's going to be illegal procedure on the Cardinals.
Looks like they called false start in the center, Caleb Muxwell on that one. So he must have shifted a little too much or put his head down and brought it back up. Not really sure what happened there, but you sure don't like to see the Cardinals moving backwards,
No.
especially in a time like this. Thankfully, the clock is still rolling down, though.
Morrison calls out to the offensive line in front. They've given him enough time. He hits Roderick Daly again underneath, right down the middle of the field between the hash marks. Picks up about half of what they needed, and it will be third down and about 7, maybe 6. Third down and 6 here for the Cardinals.
And those hook routes have been what's been open for the Cardinals on these last couple drives. And I think it's just because Indiana doesn't want to get beat deep. You can't blame them with receivers like Roderick Daly.
Morrison looks at the defense, gets the football, drops back a couple of steps, gets ready, cocks the ball, throws it across the middle. And again, it's Roderick Daly, a little deeper pattern that time. Same outcome, middle of the field, another catch, this time a first down.
Difficult throw by Morrison, but he executed it well and put it right in the breadbasket for Roderick Daly to come down with it.
And he threw it low where only Daly could make the catch. Daly knew that, went down and got it.
If he puts it any higher, the safety behind him might be able to get to it, and also the linebacker was coming from the side as well. So good ball placement by Morrison.
And your receivers like the fact that you throw it low and they can go get it, because when you're underneath like that, you open them up to getting drilled.
That's right.
This time Morrison's going to roll out, has his receiver underneath, and another Cardinal first down.
And like we were talking about earlier, when he's able to roll and get away from the pressure like that, he's able to find his wide receivers. This time it was tight end Nolan Smith, the freshman from Martin, Michigan. Good job from him, bringing out a little more heavier sets with a more run-focused offense now, and he's doing a good job there.
Able to make that catch, drag it across the middle of the field, take it to the far side for a Cardinal first down. And the clock is down to 3:10, and as you mentioned, Indiana Wesleyan not taking any of the timeouts yet.
Them being down 2 scores, you have to imagine they got to get a stop here and get the ball back quickly. Looks like they will call a timeout now.
Yeah, they're going to take that first timeout. We will take it with them, although it looks like there's a Wildcat down on the field still. So we'll let them take a look, and we'll be back for hopefully what's left of this game and a Cardinal win.
Riley.
Clock operator, please put 2:55 on the game clock. Indiana Wesleyan will call the timeout.
Indiana Wesleyan took that timeout to try to stop sort of the pressure the Cardinals are putting on them right now and to give themselves a chance to have some clock left. They're already down 11, 28-17, and the Cardinals are pretty relentlessly pushing it down the field right now, and if they're able to get it in, this game becomes nearly impossible for Indiana Wesleyan. Morrison in there takes the snap, flings it out to Omar Sinclair near side. Luke Wilson makes a nice block, and it will be inside the 20 down to, looks like the 19-yard line. Over half of a first down on that play.
And another
Indiana
timeout
Wesleyan.
called here. Yep.
So as you look at this game, you've got to believe that if the Cardinals can hold on here, and we're not saying they're going to for sure, we're not getting ahead of ourselves, but let's say they do. If they are able to hold on in this game, now that you've got Marion, who is the clear champion of this conference, they beat Siena Heights today. Siena Heights was behind us a few spots, and if they win that game because Marion's so good, do they get the accolades that everybody would want for a team that could beat the #1 team and they jump up? That's not going to happen now because Siena Heights took the loss today. Marion holds their spot at the top. Concordia, the 12th place team in the country. You've got to believe with a win here today against the Indiana Wesleyan team receiving votes, they've got a chance to move up a little bit, but tomorrow the playoff picture will be clearly laid out by the NAIA, and the NAIA team doesn't have an easy job ahead of them to pick who's going to be in the playoffs and where.
No, and it's always difficult for us being in such a good division and a good league that it's hard to put so many teams from the same division in. But it has happened in the past, happened last year. Last year it was St. Francis, Marion, and Concordia that were able to make it into the playoffs, and we're hoping that can happen again this year.
And yes, the Cardinals come into this game with 2 losses, but look who they're against. I mean, you lose to Indiana St. Francis and you lose to Marion. Those are 2 of the best teams you'll play anywhere, and I will say anybody, go up against both of them, you're likely to lose to one, if not both of them too. Sinclair will carry the football inside the 15 for a Cardinal first down. Yeah, they have not given an indication that it's a first down, but
It's going to be close. And there's the signal.
and it looks like Indiana Wesleyan's going to take their final timeout of the afternoon.
Going on the field was the first down, followed by a timeout, Indiana Wesleyan. Their final timeout of the half.
So the final timeout of the game for Indiana Wesleyan. They just took it. The Cardinals lead by 11, and you've got to believe with the ball at their opponent's 15-yard line, if the Cardinals can push like they have been to get another score in, it's going to be terribly difficult for Indiana Wesleyan with no timeouts to come back from down by that many points. So the Cardinals maybe can hold on And if you take a look at the dynamic of the teams and where they're ranked prior to this game, you're going to see a lot of teams from this conference. It is likely from top to bottom, especially adding teams like Indiana Wesleyan who are going to do it right and build a program. It's going to be and continue to be the toughest conference in the NAIA.
Yeah, and that's proven with the playoffs in the past. The top teams from the MSFA Mid-East have been going far in the playoffs and making it to the playoffs very consistently for the past several years. And the fact that if you look at the rankings as they currently stood earlier this week, the top teams that are not undefeated are all teams from the MSFA. It's St. Xavier on the other side of the conference. Their losses come against the same teams we've lost to. St. Francis, they lost to Marion and Siena Heights. Then it's us. So it's truly a really difficult conference, but I think also the people at the NAIA and the coaches that are voting on this truly see the value of the competition that we're facing and understand that those two losses might be just as good as a team that's undefeated in a conference that's not as good.
So you take a team like Siena Heights, who lost 3 games in the season in the conference this year. I will go on the record and say there are conferences where a team like Siena Heights is the second best team in the conference. And Siena Heights was trying desperately to stay at the top of the conference or in the top half. It's just a very tough conference, and it's really nice to see, as we said, a team like Indiana Wesleyan putting a football program together, and they're going to do it right. They're going to be up there every year. They're never going to go away. And so it just continues to make every Saturday in this conference fun to watch football because you're going to see quality action every single time.
Yeah, and as for making the playoffs, there's 16 teams, and there's the 12 automatic bids for people that win the conference. So Marion's going to get that. And outside of that, there's those 4 at-large bids. And so Concordia is going to be vying for one of those along with St. Francis. So it's going to be interesting to see how that comes out.
And Graham will keep the football. Stutters over the defense, slides short of the end zone.
And it looks
intentionally.
Like there's a flag there at the end because he gave himself up and slid, and then one of those linebackers came and just fell on and hit him on top of that. So going to be a couple extra yards here at the goal line.
You take a look at this. Here's a guy who could put another touchdown on his resume, could chalk it up and score 6 more, but with 2.5 minutes left and the team across the field down 11 already with no timeouts, gives that up, slides still, keeps the clock running, heads-up play for a quarterback to come into a game and make that kind of impact.
So true. That's great awareness there. And you got to believe that Coach Schumacher and Coach Rohde are telling their players, hey, if you can, give yourself up, do something like that. We want to churn as much clock as possible. But obviously it takes someone that's very selfless and not in it for himself but for the team.
And the fun part about that is the people who understand football appreciate that a whole lot more than 6 more points.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a big play, big smarts for a kid. Although at this point, the 6 points probably locks the door, but they're going to try to do that on one of these plays right here. And a handoff off to the right. We'll go off guard, right tackle, and get it down to the 4-yard line, and the clock will roll again. A pretty quick game today here this afternoon, under 2 hours or 2.5 hours by the time we get this one finished. The Cardinals excited. They sort of do what they've got to do to give themselves a chance at that playoff picture. They win here today, or barring some crazy miracle, they win here today. Parker Graham is going to take a knee. There's no reason to do anything but that. He'll have to do it one more time.
This truly is a testament to this Concordia team. They came out hot out of the gates, and then they sort of faltered there for a little bit and let Indiana Wesleyan back in this game. But this second half, it's been pretty clear which team is better and more deserving to move on and
you
have a chance at the playoffs.
You can see that they've got the older leadership, the upperclassmen leadership to go into that halftime break and say, guys, we we were up 14-0 and cruising, and we gave up 14 and they tied it. That's not how this second half is going to go. And they just stood up to them and rolled in the second half. They did give up a field goal, but that was it. They could have scored another touchdown right there and gone up by even more. But as you said, with the 2 losses against the teams that they were against this year for Concordia and the package of the whole entire season, the other teams they played and won against, you got to believe that in or not, they've put their best resume forward and done what they could do to say, hey, we've got a couple of losses, but we're the best team with 2 losses you're going to see.
That's so true. And at the end of the day, that's all you can do. You can't worry about what's going to happen around the league. You can't worry about what the committee is going to think and how they're going to decide. You have to take care of business on your own end, and the Cardinals have been able to do that.
So when will we know? Tell us that. When will we know whether we're in or we're not?
That's right. Yeah, so the selection show will be tomorrow, Sunday. I believe it's at 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 Central. And there will be a live stream of that. I would just check NAIA.org for the details on that, and they should be able to stream that. The Cardinals will be having a watch party of their own, and hopefully it's a happy one, and they see that they're going to be able to make it in for the 3rd year in a row.
So they've done what they can do, and hopefully they get in and they can continue on this season into the playoffs in the NAIA. So final score today, 28-17 for Matt Cordy. This is Eric Shaw. Thanks for joining us this year on the live stream, and we will see you again next season for more Cardinal football. See you next time.
Let's hear it for your seniors again, fans. Fans, thank you again so much for attending today's game. You can see highlights from today's game and much more at the official home of Concordia University Athletics at www.concordiacardinals.com. Fans, thank you again for attending today's game. Don't forget to buckle up. Have a safe trip home, and as always, go Cardinals!